good afternoon, and welcome to Live Impact News right here on 13 News Now Plus. It is 1:01 p.m. It is December 30th. New Year's Eve, I suppose you could say. And we are here for 2 hours of live breaking news, all of the most impactful, most breaking information that you need to know here locally, nationally, and globally, of course, on this Tuesday. Doesn't necessarily feel like a Tuesday because we've still got one last gasp of holidays to experience in the coming days here for the rest of this week. And it's important to note the weather on New Year's Eve because New Year's Eve has a little bit of outdoor activity involved, especially if you're going from place to place, which means we must welcome Taylor Stephenson into the studio to talk weather with us. Now, Taylor, I have made a huge mistake to start this show. I have introduced you. I'm excited to talk to you and see how you're doing, but I completely forgot to introduce super producer Sarah Calloway here on Live Impact News. What's up, Sarah?
Hey, it's fine.
Okay. You're perfectly okay with the skipped intro. Okay, well, perfect. That means we can now transition to some forecast action. What all are we looking at, Taylor?
So it's going to be a very cold day for us today, and the chill lasts through New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. I don't think we'll see temperatures break into the 50s until maybe next week. So we have a long way to go when it comes to finally getting to above or near normal temperatures. But old man winter is here in Hampton Roads, and you can feel it when you step outside. Right now, temperatures are anywhere from 25 to 35 degrees colder than this time yesterday. Now, that might be easy to fall from grace, right? Because temperatures around this time yesterday, we were in those 60s by now. So, I mean, that was abnormally warm, right? But now we're abnormally cold from one extreme to the other. But it is a really beautiful day. And it's funny because I had our producer, Alicia, she was like, you were so funny this morning. You said the sunshine doesn't work today. It doesn't. It's not going to work. Because even though it's sunny, it's still going to be cold. And that cold air is still going to linger for us through the afternoon, in the evening, into tomorrow as well. Temperatures right now are in the upper 30s. We finally hit our first 40 degrees now in Elizabeth City. Everywhere else has still been hovering right below that line, but that's not the temperature that I'm looking at that's the most important for this forecast, is that temperature in that light blue. That is going to tell you how it actually feels to your skin. So right now it feels more like 29 degrees in Virginia Beach, feeling more like 28 in Newport News, 31 for the feels like temperature in Elizabeth City, 37 for the feels like temperature, 30 for the feels like temperature right now in Manteo, even though the temperature in the air is 37 degrees. So here's what I'm tracking over the coming days. That chill that we have today, the sunshine that we have today, continues into tomorrow and into New Year's Day, but the warmth is nowhere to be found until we really get to maybe the middle of the month. So we have to wait a bit. Here's a look at the satellite and radar and our cold front as well out to sea. You can see all those clouds over the open Atlantic and just a quiet scene for the mid-Atlantic and the deep south. No concerns about any wet weather until we get to the weekend along our first cold front of 2026. Satellite and radar for us is extremely quiet. No concerns. Even with cloud cover, we will see very few clouds here through the rest of the day. Temperatures will climb maybe a degree or two. We may be able to reach 40s here in Norfolk, Chesapeake, Virginia Beach. Otherwise, places inland will still be in the upper 30s. Wind gusts still as high as about 25 miles per hour. We have small craft advisories in effect through this evening for the Bay and the Atlantic. By the evening time, temperatures continue to take a nosedive. By 9 o'clock, we're in the upper 20s to the middle 30s. Again, during days like this, when it's really cold, I try not to focus too much on the actual air temperature. I focus on how it really feels when you step out the door. So by 3 p.m., it's going to feel only like a degree above freezing here in Hampton Roads in northeastern North Carolina. Connor is over here just shaking his head like this is ridiculous, because it is ridiculous. Cold air is here to stay, at least for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and into most of the weekend. as we get into Tuesday night, this is tonight, 24 degrees for the feels like temperature inland, around the coast, feeling more like the upper 20s. I'm going to skip past what I usually do. I usually stop at around 7 a.m., but tomorrow is not technically the holiday, but most people probably have New Year's Eve off. They're not going to wake up traditionally at 6, 7, 8 a.m. So I'm stopping at 9 a.m. for when most people may be thinking about heading out the door. By that time, it still only feels like the middle 20s.
Look at that straight up turquoise across our area there. That just looks cold.
It is. And if you see in the top right corner, maybe a little bit hard to tell, but that's white. And so those are temperatures in the teens, maybe even single digits as you get closer to the mountains. So very cold temperatures there near the Appalachians. Getting here in Norfolk, Virginia Beach, West Point, Melfa, Eatonton, Kill Devil Hills, we're going to see feels like temperatures tomorrow in the upper 30s, lower 40s. So still feeling chilly, but it is an improvement from today, where around this time today we'll feel more like freezing. So I'll take an improvement, even though it is still on the chillier side of things. Now, I think people are not really focused on what happens during the afternoon. And Connor, I feel like you're a man who loves to, be out with the guys, have fun. You're focused on the nighttime. And they're not focused on the afternoon of New Year's Eve. It's about what's going on at night, right?
Be out with the guys, have fun.
Yeah, exactly. So let's focus on the nighttime.
I'm putting that on a t-shirt.
You should, as you should. Be outside. Eugene's outside. I'm outside. So be outside. It's okay.
Wait, is Eugene outside?
Oh, yeah. Eugene, he admitted this morning he likes to be in the streets. He said that. He said, he did say that on the
Sarah
stream.
can confirm? All right, we got to get Eugene on here at some point just to talk about non-work Eugene.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Life Eugene.
Oh, Life Eugene, he likes to party. So anyways.
Well, now hold on now. We have 3 designations that have been granted. I'm outside, you're outside, and Eugene's outside. That leaves one member of this quadrant who we do not have a designation for. Sarah Calloway, are you outside?
I'm at work.
Okay. I think that tells us everything we need to know.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which I get. She's very to the T. She has her ducks in a row.
Right. You're able to compartmentalize.
I guess so, yeah.
Okay. Strong.
Are we just talking about tomorrow?
Tomorrow.
Or
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Generally, right?
Generally.
Overall.
And tomorrow.
Yeah.
Both.
I just bought a house, so I've been a homebody lately.
Oh, well, that's a good reason to be a homebody.
You're inside, but you're inside a house that you own.
In a house that you love.
Yes.
With someone that you love. Can't get much better than that.
Let's go ahead and give a New Year's Eve congratulations to Sarah Calloway. We have not given you your proper flowers yet here on Live Impact News for a major life move and decision.
Yeah.
So big congrats and a very worthwhile inside choice.
Oh, yeah.
There when
Oh,
you're
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I have derailed you harshly here.
No,
in your
it's okay.
forecast.
It's okay. I think that
the-
today is a good day to be inside just because it's so cold. I've been told I need to watch Bridgerton and Stranger Things. There's a whole long list of shows I need to watch. So these next few days, best for binge watching, right? Because it's going to be so cold. But again, most people are probably going to be outside regardless if it's cold or warm. They may be straight away from rain. But good news is we won't see any rain for your New Year's Eve forecast. We are going to see temperatures, though, hovering just above freezing. So it will be a very cold night if you're watching some outdoor fireworks shows, if you're going to support our great friend and coworker, Marta Berglund, who's hosting Last Night on the Town in Town Center in Virginia Beach tomorrow. Make sure that you are just bundled up and having multiple layers. You need to make sure you're protecting those fragile extremities. So your fingers, also covering your head. Make sure that you're wearing some thicker socks just because you will feel the brunt of the cold tomorrow. Now, that's pretty much the forecast because every single day after that is kind of almost a copy and paste until we get to Saturday. Temperatures will be hovering in the middle to upper 40s through this very short work week. We get to Saturday, that's our first cold front of 2026. This could bring us some scattered showers for the day, but then a cool down on Sunday with highs at best in the lower 40s. It may not even be until Monday where temperatures try to challenge to get into that near normal range. But we'll see because remember, the further you go out in a forecast, the more variable it can be. So this could always change, but we know for at least the next 3 to 5 days, temperatures will be well below normal.
Okay, and in those 3 to 5 days, as you said, are the holiday, you gave some tips on how to stay warm. Make sure you get the extremities covered.
Yeah.
That can help greatly. Are there any other like secret sauce sort of meteorology tips that you have for people who are like, look, I gotta, I'm trying to look good, but I'm also trying to go out and I know it's going to be cold. Are there any little tips or tricks that you know of to help people stay warm and safe while also kind of getting to live their best New Year's Eve life?
Are you talking about during the day or at night? Because that will give a different answer.
At night.
At night, I would definitely make sure, maybe go to the not grocery store, but like, supermarket and find some hand warmers.
Yeah.
I think those really help for me at least. I like to play with them. So it gives your hands something to do too, but it keeps you so warm. Those hand warmers are like magic to me. So I guess it's not really like the biggest like secret sauce, but it's something that helps me significantly.
Totally. And it helps us a ton here. Like whenever we go out to do snow coverage, they've got a bunch of hand warmers for us, and it is critical. And you can use one. You get to where you're going, you throw it away. You have a fresh one in the purse. It's not a burden.
Yeah.
It doesn't really change anything about your activities. So the hand warmer's a great tip. What was your daytime tip?
Well, I will say also, I've heard people put hand warmers in their shoes to keep their feet warm. So that's that. Yeah, that's a good tip right there. So put it in your shoe. During the day, wear dark colored clothing that will absorb a lot more sunlight and actually keep you a little bit warmer. So
Okay.
yeah, dark colored clothing during the daytime and then hand warmers at night. But I think Hampton Roads is pretty used to at least a little bit of some cold air. So nothing too out of the normal. Now, if we were talking a snow day, then we would have different protocol. But no, I think this is just one of those days where we just happen to be cold. It's winter. So nothing out of the norm.
And it's a nice trade-off not to have the precipitation when people are looking to be out and about and doing some things. It's a little chilly, but you're not getting rained on or snowed on, so that's not too bad. Okay, so we know that we've got a cold week coming up. We might get into the 50s on Monday, but it's kind of a wait-and-see situation.
Right, because it could always, sometimes when we're forecasting 7 days out, by the time we get up to 3 days out, that temperature may be a couple degrees cooler than what we forecast a week ago, so things can change, and even those minor changes will take it, we're right at that cusp, so it could take it below normal, above normal, so we just have to wait and see.
If somebody is like, look, I got to go out for 2 hours tomorrow. I know how cold it's going to be. I've got all day free because I'm off work. I want to time this perfectly so that I am out and about during the warmest part of the day. When would that person want to go do their things?
I mean, celebrating the new year, like ringing it in?
No, like running errands and
running
stuff like
errands.
that. Yeah.
I would say probably tomorrow around 2 to 3 p.m.
Okay, pretty standard. Right in that mid-afternoon time, you might get a little teeny tiny bit of relief.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have big New Year's Eve plans? Are you going to Marta Berglund's shindig at Town Center?
I will not go to Town Center only because I believe it is outdoors, correct? Yeah,
it is outdoors.
Yeah, so
yeah.
I support Marta. Me and Marta, we're real cool. But I am a Southern girl, so I can only take so much cold. So I will not be in Town Center. I may find something to do in Norfolk. If not, then I will probably just ring in the New Year at my apartment and call it a night.
Well, you have told us about your big window situation.
Oh yeah,
and how you like to get snug in there and kind of set the scene, and then you've got your window open. It sounds like you haven't watched Stranger Things yet. Is Nia Campbell still friends with you at this point? I feel like
she is, surprisingly.
Okay.
That is her thing. I do not watch Stranger Things, nor do I watch Bridgerton. I'm still friends with Ashley Smith,
Okay.
so I think that I'm towing the line with a lot of these friendships of not watching. For me, I'm just a reality TV type of person. So like Housewives, Married to Medicine. I like those game shows sometimes, like The Traitors. I'm trying to think of what other.
Is that Traitors like a swap or Traitors like I've betrayed someone?
Betrayed. So it's like a live action version of Clue.
Okay.
It's really good, actually.
Oh, the board game.
Yeah, the board game. So it's like you're trying to find who are the imposters, basically.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of what else I watch on a regular. This is so crazy. I mean, it's not crazy, but I am like SpongeBob's #1 fan. I can rewatch SpongeBob episodes over and over, and I do. So I rewatch SpongeBob a lot.
We are of that generation where SpongeBob really kind of hit the sweet spot.
It did.
It is a stone cold classic.
It is.
For like our age group. So I'm with you. I will randomly catch a SpongeBob episode, and I'm like, I kind of forgot how entertaining this actually is, even beyond just watching it as a kid.
Yeah.
All right, SpongeBob for the win. A very SpongeBob New Year's for you, perhaps.
Maybe
throw
we'll
on a
see.
couple episodes
and
of the Sponge.
I think that's the reason why me and Naya are friends, because she'll literally throw out a SpongeBob reference that no one else will get,
Yeah.
but I'll get it. So I think that's why we're still friends, even though I haven't watched Stranger Things, because we talk about SpongeBob all the time.
Okay, Stranger Sponge. Now, I have to, I hate to put you on the spot, can you do the SpongeBob laugh?
Oh, no.
Okay,
No.
I was looking forward to just seeing if you would try that out on air.
I would
It is
embarrass
very
myself.
difficult. Did you know
No.
there's a live SpongeBob play now? Would you be into that sort of thing?
No.
Okay.
I didn't even watch the new movie.
That was such a quick. Sarah,
No.
you gave a head nod to the live SpongeBob. Are you in on Broadway SpongeBob?
I'm not, but it's been like a meme everywhere lately.
Okay.
Because of the actor.
He's in Wicked, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so,
So I-
maybe that's how I learned about it.
Yeah.
Okay, so none of us are in on live SpongeBob just yet.
No, I don't even like the new movies. Like
Yeah.
I like the old movie. What was that from like 2000?
Stone
like,
Cold classic.
Yeah.
I need water
2004.
SpongeBob.
Yes,
Okay.
literally. I quote that all the time. Like
Yeah.
water. Whenever I'm thirsty. So.
All right, last question before we let you go.
Yes, sir.
Excuse me. I said something to a friend of mine the other day. I said, hey, once we get through New Year's, I'm really looking forward to summer. And he said, you can't think that way. That's not, we still have to get through the spring. We have a whole second half of winter to go. Is there validity in this thought process? I love the summer. It's my favorite season. Once the holidays are over, I'm just kind of beelining towards summer. Am I getting overzealous about moving through the seasons?
What's wrong with spring? That's my only question.
Spring is wonderful. Spring is it's a springboard into the summer for me, and I love the springtime, and I embrace every single aspect of it because it means the summer is right around the corner. I kind of even lump May into the summer, maybe even the second half of April. It's just one big sort of
early.
one
Hang on.
big
That's a
amalgamation.
little too
of,
much.
I'm just ready to put on a t-shirt and walk outside.
But that's spring, though. I feel like
That
you
is
got in
spring.
spring.
You're right.
So I think that you should, slow down a little bit. Let's get through.
Yeah.
Because I feel like you springboard into summer, and then you're talking temperatures in the 90s. I like my pot just right, 75 degrees and sunny. And that's like right in April and May. That's what I like.
We are all looking forward to spring. That is the time when we get, it's not too hot, but it's not too cold. So I'm going to reset my mental.
Yes.
We're going to enjoy New Year's Eve. January, February, we'll watch some football, we'll watch some basketball, and then it'll be springtime before you know it.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Fantastic. Now, Taylor, you have done almost all of the weather this week. You and Evan have been the only two people on our team with different vacations and things that are happening. Great job
Thank
with
you.
everything that you guys have done this week, kind of carrying the department a little bit here. And thank you so much for joining us today.
Of course. And I'll see you later.
Taylor Stephenson, everybody, always providing a little dose of weather and then letting us know not to forget that SpongeBob SquarePants is an absolute stone cold classic.
It's literally. Okay, I gotta get back on camera for this one.
Okay.
SpongeBob is literally one of the greatest cartoons to ever be created. Period. And
100%.
I will stand on that till my day comes.
Well, who's your favorite supporting character?
Oh, that's a good question.
I'll throw out some while you think.
I-
Obviously, we got Patty Starr.
I
and you
no,
can't-
not him.
No, not Patty
Not
Starr.
Patrick. No.
He's so
he's
himself.
annoying. He's annoying to me because it's like you cannot be that obtuse. like there's no way. I
He
think my
is
favorite
obtuse.
supporting characters are either Squidward or Plankton, but it depends on the day.
Plankton, giving a
Yeah.
shout out to the antagonist.
Yeah, I mean, because what would we really be doing if Plankton wasn't always trying to be in some mess, right? But I
That's
also feel like he has very iconic lines too. Like,
Yeah, and the only reason Plankton is the way he is because he's been overlooked his whole life.
Exactly,
He's just
exactly.
trying to get some respect and maybe a fire recipe that can move some burgers.
Yeah.
Okay, Plankton, Squidward, top two supporting characters for Taylor Stephenson. I am going to go ahead and I'm going to go with my man Patty Starr. I know you don't like Patty Starr, but I just feel like he's so pure and genuine.
He is.
He's
he is.
incapable of being anything other than himself.
That's true.
And then I do want to give a shout out to Mrs. Puff because where would we be without our educators? You know what I mean? Teachers, always overlooked
So
and
true.
underrated.
So true.
Shout out to Mrs. Puff. Shout out to SpongeBob.
Yeah.
And shout out to Taylor Stephenson for joining us today.
Of course.
For a wonderful forecast. And again, those hand warmers, guys.
Yeah.
It is a secret life hack to staying warm when you got to be out and about during a day that's in those mid 40s and a nighttime that's even colder. So remember to bring the accessories, but also the hand warmers when you go out for New Year's Eve. Okay. So we've got our forecast. Let's do this, Sarah. Can we go ahead and pop on a tower cam or two? I just want to show people the contrast between yesterday and today. Yesterday it was a little cloudy. There was some rainfall. Yes, it was warm, but it was kind of nasty out as well. Whereas today, you get a little bit of the opposite type of situation here. It is beautiful and sunny, but it is freezing cold. But make no mistake, there's a couple people down at the oceanfront here. You got a group sort of near our Live Impact News chiclet there that are walking along the boardwalk. You got a guy who's exploring this small mountain on the... Sarah, you just did me like that while I was breaking down the big board.
You were pointing at the board, and I was like, oh, this would be good to get on the camera.
Thank you.
Then when
Thank
I
you.
switched it, I forgot that it switches that.
Yeah, you know what?
Sorry, I'm not trying to sabotage you.
It's good for people to get a look at our big board here and kind of what we're looking at while you're watching Live Impact News. But yes, down at the bottom of your screen near the Your Forecast, I think he may be playing with a dog on the mountain, on the small sand mountain there, or maybe a kid. But yes, there is activity at the Virginia Beach oceanfront. But as Taylor Stephenson told us, the sun is a little bit of a misnomer today. It is cold out there, even if it looks like it might be very beautiful. Now, we're looking ahead to New Year's Eve, and we've talked about some things you can do to stay safe in the climate, to stay safe in the conditions. There are other precautions that we want to talk about when it comes to staying safe on New Year's. Yesterday, we really spent a lot of time on a big one, which is do not get behind the wheel of the car if you are not sober. Safe driving and making sure you have rides set up so that there are sober drivers and designated drivers for every possible scenario. That's a big one. Another one that we talked about quite a bit today is gun safety. Okay, it's not just gun safety, but it's everything that comes with the loud and raucous celebrations that go into New Year's Eve. And our own Jeremiah Beatty covered this quite extensively today. We're going to go to one of her interviews right now. Is this with this is with a police officer?
Yeah, we have the police chief. I believe it's Suffolk. And
Yes.
then we also have someone from the Virginia Department of Health.
Okay, so we're going to go police chief first, then Virginia Department of Health talking about gun safety on New Year's Eve. Let's go to that now. Lots of things, lots of precautions to take while we celebrate the start of a new year.
What is the main message the community needs to know as we enter into New Year's Eve when it comes to firearm safety?
And what I would say is really it should be the rule all of the time is that we always, if you're handling a firearm, you always treat that firearm as if it's loaded, and you never point that firearm at anything that you don't intend on shooting. You have to. I want everybody to know that once that bullet leaves the barrel of that gun, you're responsible for it. You're responsible for that. As parents in our homes, if we have firearms in our homes, as responsible adults, we're responsible for those firearms, and we're responsible for making sure they're locked up and they're safe and they're not accessible for anybody else to get and that is not familiar, with that firearm. Celebratory shooting of firearms, it happens every year, is that we think that we can bring grandpa's shotgun out and shoot it up in the air, and that's okay to do. But as the old saying goes, what goes up must come down. And no matter where we shoot that firearm, that bullet is going to travel until something stops it, whether it be property, a vehicle, or another human being. That bullet, once it leaves, there are no misses in firearms. Once that bullet leaves the barrel, it hits something before it stops. So, guns are, on a good day, if they're used inappropriately, are dangerous, and New Year's Eve and the holidays is no exception. If you use those guns inappropriately, they are dangerous, and whatever happens with that firearm and with that bullet when it leaves the barrel, you are responsible for.
Have you seen any incidents where you've responded to where celebratory gunfire has been the cause of injury or death?
We've seen property damage more. Knock on wood, is that the only reason I guess that there hasn't been more people hit is just luck. It's just plain like now we have had motorists whose windshields are damaged and shattered by bullets coming down that have been fired up in the air, and those bullets come down and strike something. We have just, like I say, knock on wood, I hope this year is that we have the same outcome where people aren't hit. But what goes up has got to come down. Where you shoot, when you come out in your yard and you start shooting your gun up in the air, those bullets or those pellets are going to come down somewhere. And whatever they strike, they're either going to damage or hurt or possibly kill. And it doesn't matter that it's New Year's Eve or any other date, you are responsible for that firearm, and you are responsible for the projectile that leaves that barrel. Wherever it goes, you're responsible for it.
Another nugget of this, you kind of said earlier about what safety steps people can take. That's you said safe storage. But for parents watching at home, what kind of conversations do they need to have with their children and teens before New Year's celebrations kick off?
I would say, if first of all, if you're home and you're enjoying New Year's Eve at home with your family, then at 12 o'clock, firing firearms is not what you want to do to bring in the new year. That can bring in the new year so tragically, that, go out, honk your horn, do other things to make noise, but shooting firearms is, whenever somebody's handling a firearm, you can be in a dangerous situation if they're not handled appropriately. What I would tell parents, if you have firearms at home, then keep those firearms locked up, keep them in a safe, keep the ammunition away from the firearm so they're not together in case if somebody gets a hold of your firearm, they don't have ammunition to load the gun with. Use a gun safety cable. It's a gun lock that runs through the barrel so the gun is inoperable as long as that lock is in place. Tell your children if they're at a celebration and people are starting to fire firearms to leave that celebration, because a firearm and a bullet knows no name, knows no gender, knows no race. It is just going to travel until something stops it. And if that something is property, if that something is another human being, then you are responsible for that bullet, and you are responsible for the damage that it causes when you fire that firearm.
So if someone hears a firearm go off, what should they do? I know it's simple, but we're hearing from the police chief this morning. What should they do if they hear that?
I think if you hear firearm, obviously 4th of July, New Year's Eve, we get hundreds of calls of shots fired due to celebratory gunfire. Most of it due to that, but call the police if there is gunfire, because it is not legal to discharge a firearm in most settings. It is not. It's 100% illegal to fire firearms, from occupied dwellings or around occupied dwellings. There are rules and regulations that exist for a reason, so you're not firing guns in neighborhoods and places where other people reside and where people have property. So call the police. Let us come out and determine, what is going on and whether it's where the gunfire is coming from, so we can take the appropriate police action. But I will tell our citizens, please do not make part of your celebration firing firearms at midnight. That is it's super dangerous. What goes up will come down, and there are no misses in firearms. When you fire that weapon, it is going to travel. That bullet will travel until something stops it, whether that be a car, the ground, or another human being. It is going to travel until something stops it, and you are responsible for that bullet. So whatever occurs once that weapon is fired, you are going to be held responsible for it.
Is there any final reminders or remarks that you have about this story?
I would say to all our citizens in Suffolk is enjoy your New Year's Eve celebration. We're bringing in 2026, and we want to bring in 2026 on a very good positive note. And we can't do that if we're all taking out our weapons and firing them at midnight. Something tragic will occur when a bunch of gunfire is going on. Something will occur, and we do not want to bring in 2026 in a tragic situation. We want everybody to have a good time. We want everybody to celebrate the new year, but we do not want them to celebrate the new year by firing their firearms up into the air. We do not want that to occur.
Well, thank you so much for making time to speak with me this morning. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you and all that you do.
All right, so that was our interview with the Suffolk Police Chief about gun safety on New Year's Eve. This is a theme that we're actually going to stick with here on Live Impact News for a little bit. Jemiah Beatty also spoke with a member of the Virginia Department of Health about a similar topic, so we're going to go to that interview right now.
What's the main message you want the community to know as we head into the new year?
Well, there are three parts of this message. The first one is that there are triggers. There are triggers for folks during the celebrations that can either trigger thinking, I want to make noise, or even some of the firecrackers and the poppers and things like this can trigger folks who may have some trauma in the past related to gun violence. And this can also trigger some real mental health issues in folks. So the first thing is that there are a lot of loud noises when folks are celebrating, and there can be triggers for folks both towards armed violence, but also towards gun use, but also just in terms of the firecrackers and the celebration. So there are triggers. The second thing is when someone does hear that there is a shot's gone off, whether there is an injury or not, the first thing you should do is call 911. Do not try to approach anyone. Do not try to take the firearm away. It becomes a dangerous situation when there is a firearm involved. The third thing is prevention. And this is the big thing I really would love communities to know. There are ways to prevent bad outcomes when it comes to firearms. First thing is make sure firearms are safe. Make sure that there are gun locks in a box. They are not armed, and any ammunition is kept far away from the gun. I really appreciate our military. I appreciate folks who have guns, and I would encourage the military and veterans to be the gun safety heroes of our communities. Make sure that you are the one who teaches gun safety to anyone around you. Become that person for your community, for your family, so that everyone can be safe. And if you have someone who is maybe struggling during this time at the end of the year and does have a firearm, it is worth taking that firearm away, somehow getting it out of that person's hands, because you don't want it to end in a tragedy, which everyone is going to regret for the rest of our lives.
Another component of all of this is that you all reported more than 2,000 firearm injury related emergency visits. When hearing that number, what does that tell you about the real world consequences of unsafe gun use?
Devastating. I mean, who in this area in Hampton Roads does not know someone, or at least either have been personally affected, know someone who has been personally affected, or someone who knows someone who has? I have personally, and it is just something you do not live down. And it affects not only certainly a life lost, but the people around that, the parents, the brothers, the sisters, the kids. It is a community trauma every time there is a firearm. And over 2,000, almost 2,500, 2023, that is 2,500 too many when they can be prevented.
Are there any reminders you want people to keep in mind as they ring in the new year?
It is December 30th, 2025. It has been quite a year. And as we move into this changeover of the year, into the celebrations, as well as a lot of anticipation for 2026, here are some really basic things to do. One is make sure your firearms are safe. Get the ammunition away from the firearm, make sure it is not loaded, and make sure it is out of the hands of anyone who doesn't know how to handle a gun. There are gun locks, there are boxes to do that. The second thing is, if you do know someone who is struggling with depression, with anxiety, with paranoia, or just it's a rough time of year, please make sure that person is safe by removing any firearms from around them. And look out for each other. This is a time we all we've got is ourselves and each other. And it's time really to take care of each other. You know, one thing I could add is the if you or a loved one is really going through a tough time, please call or text 988. That is a hotline for anyone who is struggling with mental health or depression or concerns at this time. You or a loved one, call or text 988. There is someone standing by who can help you get through this.
All right, back here in the studio after another interview about safety on New Year's Eve. It is tomorrow, so this is something that's going to be a major focus of our show today. And there are few places, I would imagine, in the world where New Year's Eve is as big of a deal as New York City. Of course, Times Square feels, at least to us here, like the epicenter of New Year's Eve celebrations. The dropping of the ball is maybe the defining sort of cultural piece of content related to New Year's Eve. And so, with that in mind, Mayor Eric Adams took to the podium earlier today to talk about New Year's Eve celebrations in New York City and how to stay safe during those celebrations. Of course, Eric Adams' time as mayor coming to a close very, very soon. We actually are likely to hear from the next mayor of New York, Zohran Mamdani, at some point live during our stream. We don't have that confirmed, but it is something that we are hoping for and that as of now it looks like will happen. So let's, for now, listen into the current New York City mayor for a very small amount of future time, talk about safety plans for New Year's Eve in NYC. Here's Eric Adams.
Good morning. Thank you all for being here today. My name is Fabian Levy, and I serve as Deputy Mayor for Communications for the City of New York. Welcome to the crossroads of the world. 4 years ago, tomorrow night, Mayor Adams was sworn in as the 110th mayor of our city right here in Times Square. On his first day of the administration, Mayor Adams pledged to all New Yorkers that we would work every day to make this a safer city for them and their families. That's why for the last 4 years, public safety has been our North Star. And that pledge will continue up until the mayor's final day in office, up until 11:59 p.m. tomorrow night, his final minute in office. Tomorrow, as New Yorkers and visitors gather in this very square to ring in the new year, they will be able to celebrate with peace of mind, knowing that our administration is working around the clock to keep them safe. To say more, I'd like to introduce the man who has kept his promise to deliver a safer city for us all, the 110th mayor of the city of New York, Eric Adams.
Thanks. Thanks so much, DM Levy, and really want to thank those who are behind the scene doing the job, particularly Chief of Department, Chief of Patrol, and Chief of Transit. As I walked out, I told all three of them, job well done. We look at the record number of decreasing crime in our subway system, what we've done above ground, and really the brain behind the coordination and operation of what our Chief of Operation and now Chief of Department, what he has done is just really remarkable, and we cannot thank them enough because they saved lives. And they had a real general. Commissioner Tisch led the troops into battle and led from the front. And so really a job well done for the people in the city of New York and the millions of tourists who come here every day to make sure that this city is a place that they can enjoy as they visit our city. So it's the combination of two. And every year, you look here at Times Square, this is where it happens, as DM Levy stated. It's the crossroads of the entire globe. People come here to bring in the new year, and it is our job to make sure they're able to do that in a level of safety. And we cannot wait to welcome the crowds right here. Hundreds of thousands, if not 1 million people would be right where you're standing now. And we are looking forward to the ball drop as we stand on the eve of the ball drop. People will start lining up early in the day, and they're here throughout the entire day to hold their spot. And we want everyone to have a great time and spend lots of money. For those of you who are tourists here, spend money in the city of New York. You're a tourist? Spend money. And so while people are here to enjoy, it's a group effort that involve interagency communications and coordination, but I want to assure everyone maintaining a safety posture here during this celebration is something that we focus on. I want to thank Deputy Commissioner Weiner, who's keeping her ears open and all the intelligence we need with our federal, state, and city agencies to make sure that we are proactive, not only reactive. And as we ramp up for the festivities, the NYPD, the FDNY, New York City Emergency Management, DOT, the Department of Sanitation, and Times Square Alliance will be prepared. Tom, thanks so much, man. Great partnership with you. There will be officers in and out of uniform, keeping their eyes open. We're going to do our part. We need you to do your part. If you see something, say something, and most importantly, do something. Notify one of the officers that are there. This includes officers from the Patrol Service Bureau, the Transit Bureau, the Intelligence Counterterrorism Bureau, and the Special Operations Division. We will have plainclothes K-9 teams, officers on horsebacks, on our trains, subway stations, and in helicopters and on boats. Pedestrians and vehicle closures will be in effect leading up to and during the event. Security is everyone's responsibility. Again, see something, say something, do something. And while we do not have any specific or credible threats regarding the New Year's Eve festivities in Times Square, at this time we are continually operating in a heightened threat, and please be conscious of your surroundings. While we acknowledge that the city will respect and protect people's right to protest, we will have a zero tolerance for interfering with the celebration tomorrow in Times Square or other disorderly behavior across the city. And for those coming to Times Square to watch the ball drop, we urge you to use mass transit. Chief Galata made it safe, so let's make sure we use it. And there are certain items you cannot bring into the safety zone. Large backpacks, coolers, and alcohol beverages are strictly prohibited. Find out what the restrictions are before you can come in without a problem. To the lucky ones who are going to be in the immediate vicinity, we say dress warmly so you can enjoy the moment. And I want to again thank the entire team, including Times Square Alliance and everyone else who comes to make New Yorkers safe and enjoy the festivity. And I want to just a special note, as you're aware, 2026 is the 250th anniversary of this great country. And I'm hearing that the Times Square Alliance is looking to do a second ball drop. We're excited about that. I think that this is an excellent idea. I hope the incoming administration will warmly welcome that. Anytime we can have more tourism and more money, we should look forward to it. And so as I finish my term, I want to share with New Yorkers it has been an honor to serve and a great responsibility to look after the safety and well-being of so many New Yorkers and visitors. Thank you for this incredible honor. From patrolman to mayor, I am humbled to have served this city, and I wish everyone a healthy 2026. Jim?
Thank you, Mayor. Dress warmly, warmer than we are all dressed right now. So the hundreds of thousands of onlookers we expect to pack this square tomorrow night will be able to do so because of the thousands of city employees who will be on the clock serving their fellow New Yorkers. So I want to say thank you from everyone at the NYPD, FDNY, DSNY, DOT, CECM, and all the other city agencies sacrificing their New Year's to give so many such a wonderful experience. As the mayor said, we simply would not be able to celebrate the New Year the same way if it weren't for our brave men and women in blue. We're still one day away from the end of the quarter, the end of the year, but come tomorrow, New York's finest will have helped us bring crime down for 8 straight quarters since January 2024. To speak more about the work our police department is doing to keep you safe tomorrow night, I'd like to welcome General NYPD Commissioner Tish to the podium.
Good morning, everyone. Tomorrow, Times Square will begin to welcome more than 1 million visitors from around the world as we say goodbye to 2025 and we usher in 2026. New Year's Eve in Times Square is one of the largest and the most complex public safety operations anywhere in the world, and one the NYPD has secured successfully for decades. For the past year, we've been working closely with the Times Square Alliance and our partners across city, state, and federal government. At this time, there are no known specific credible threats to the New Year's Eve celebration in Times Square. As always, the men and women of the NYPD will be out there keeping everyone safe. The public should expect to see thousands of NYPD officers deployed throughout Times Square and the surrounding area. That includes officers from our specialized units, including Emergency Service Unit, K-9, the Bomb Squad, heavy weapons teams, and our harbor teams. Our helicopters and our drones will also be deployed during the day to provide comprehensive coverage in real time. We will also deploy dedicated pickpocket teams, hotel response teams, and additional uniformed patrols to address quality of life and public safety concerns. There will be assets that you will see and others that you will not see. The Joint Operations Center will be fully activated with all of our city, state, and federal partners, and personnel there will be actively monitoring fixed and mobile cameras. Intelligence teams will also be monitoring social media for potential threats, and response units will be deployed citywide to investigate any reports in real time. Street closures will begin early tomorrow morning and will expand throughout the day. Beginning at 4 a.m. tomorrow, 7th Avenue will close to vehicular traffic between 42nd and 48th Streets, along with side streets between 43rd and 48th Streets from 6th to 8th Avenues. At approximately 11 a.m., 7th Avenue and Broadway will close to vehicular traffic from 38th to 59th Streets. By approximately 4 p.m., 6th and 8th Avenues within the event area will close to both pedestrian and vehicle traffic, with pedestrian crossings at 41st, 44th, 47th, 50th, 54th, and 57th Streets. We strongly encourage anyone traveling to Manhattan to use public transportation tomorrow. Concrete barriers and blocker vehicles and frozen safety lanes will be established to protect the perimeter of the area. Manholes, mailboxes, and trash receptacles within the frozen zone will be either secured or removed. Viewing areas will officially open at 3 p.m. with pedestrian entry points at 45th, 49th, 52nd and 56th Streets from both 6th and 8th Avenues, and will close street by street as those pens reach capacity. Spectators should expect to be screened by counterterrorism officers at these access points, and once inside a viewing area, there will be no re-entry and they may be subject to re-screening. Spectators staying at hotels within the secured area will be required to remain within their assigned viewing pens. Certain items will not be permitted in viewing areas, including backpacks, large bags, large coolers, picnic blankets, chairs, alcohol, drones, laser pens, umbrellas, and any other large items that can obstruct a spectator's view. On behalf of the men and women of the New York City Police Department, I want to thank our partners at the Times Square Alliance, along with our colleagues across city, state, and federal agencies for their continued collaboration. And most importantly, I want to thank the women and men of the NYPD who will be working through the night to ensure that this celebration remains safe. We look forward to another secure and successful New Year's Eve in Times Square. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Finally, I want to introduce a great partner and friend of our administration over the last 4 years, the man who ensures an average of 80 million visitors can enjoy Times Square every year, and that millions around the globe can enjoy the ball drop on television, the president of the Times Square Alliance, Tom Harris.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor, Commissioner Tisch, Mayor Adams. Tomorrow night, the world will turn to Times Square, and there is no one who can do an event better than the men and women of the New York City Police Department who work tirelessly throughout the year to keep Times Square safe. I want to take this opportunity to thank Mayor Adams. 4 years ago, when the mayor took office, crime was 20% higher than it is today. There's a 20% reduction in crime. 250 plus new businesses have opened up. All 13 of our unlicensed weed stores have been closed down by this administration. People are moving to Times Square. They actually want to live here thanks to the city that he has created. The hotels are doing great. Broadway has never been better. And people listen to him and spent money. Visa spending has never been higher. So thank you very much, Mayor Adams. For New Year's, as we look forward to the future, we know that our city is going to do great thanks to all of the folks who care so much, thanks to the legacy of Mayor Adams. Tomorrow night is going to be a great night in Times Square where the whole world will see how fantastic this city is. Thank you very much.
Okay, everyone, we're going to do some on-topic questions about Times Square and security. Okay? Times Square and security. Tom?
Each year around this time, we see these federal threat assessments. They come out, they talk about this event and New Year's. Just wondering if there's anything you've seen for the ISIS plus constructed this year, or what you've seen globally that you're doing for this particular event to stop any sort of threat or attack.
Thank you. So, as the mayor mentioned, we've been existing in a heightened threat environment for the last 2.5 years, and each year our plan incorporates lessons learned from overseas, from events elsewhere. And this year you're going to have augmented personnel to fortify the perimeter around the event and to minimize crowding around access points and make sure that, as every year, this is a safe, happy, and healthy event.
How are you?
So I want to talk about the language, no credible threat, right? That's language that we adopted after 9/11, and it's been, over 20 years since then. Considering the lone wolf dynamic and whether or not if there was a credible threat, if the public would be alerted, can we talk about what weight that phrase carries now, if any, because of how the terrorist threat has really evolved since that language was adopted after 9/11?
Well, we saw, and I'm going to let the commissioner or the deputy commissioner speak, and you dropped your gloves. We saw several years ago, we had a lone wolf with a machete that attacked police officers, and I thought that the way the officers deployed, they maintained their postures on the locations where they were supposed to be, and at the same time, we got necessary personnel there to bring this person under control without additional injuries or loss of life. So we know there's a constant evolution without the known threats. We are well aware that we have to remain vigilant, and that's what these officers, they know what needs to be done. But Commissioner Rebecca.
Yeah. So we get threats and leads into our intelligence center all the time. And so what that phrase means is that we do not have right now any specific credible threats against Times Square New Year's Eve celebration this year.
Yeah. But I guess the question was, sorry.
Yeah, how are you?
You're a technology guy. So you're a technology guy. So what technology is going to advance in safety and security for the city?
Well, I think the commissioner alluded to some of it. Don't underestimate the power of drones. And this administration, we have really incorporated drones into our public safety apparatus on so many levels. But being able to police on the ground and in the sky is just an amazing contribution. And there's some other technology that, we just don't want to tip our hands, but we're using technology to keep New Yorkers safe, and I think it's going to continue to evolve.
Follow up. You started it all. You started your administration here.
Yes.
How does it feel to be back
Great. You know, when I started it 4 years ago, no one knew of this woman named Dorothy Mae Adams that raised the mayor of the city of New York. And being able to hold my mother's picture up so the entire globe can see that mothers across the globe sacrifice so much. And so mommy is not the mayor, but she made a mayor. And so it feels good, full circle. And listen, it has been a blast. I'm looking forward to a single malt scotch and a cigar.
Can you talk about the specific numbers? Are there any addition this year in terms of police officers and all the?
Yeah, our detail this year for the Times Square New Year's Eve celebration is bigger than last year's. And you're going to see more officers in two main places. First is at the access points to the event on 6th and 8th Avenue, so we can expedite entry or exit from the bow tie area. And the second is we are going to be doing secondary screening this year of people inside pens. So we will have mobile screening teams walking around the pens, and if we see anything that looks suspicious, we will have teams in place to do appropriate screening. That's a new addition this year as well. We never tell you the exact numbers, but rest assured, the entirety of the New York City Police Department is going to be working between December 31st and January 1st. This is the biggest event of the year.
CBS News. Can you give us some context for that additional screening? Has that additional screening been done in recent years? Why now?
No, the secondary screening is something that is net new this year, and it is based on, we study what goes on around the world, so it's based on what we've learned over the past year and what we've seen throughout the world in the terrorism space.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Commissioner Weiner.
Okay, back here in the Live Impact News studio after a lengthy press conference from current New York City Mayor Eric Adams and other officials there in New York ahead of New Year's Eve, ahead of the ball drop here. Now, if we could pull up here, if you don't mind, Sarah, let's go ahead and pull up Channel 1 because we alluded to the fact that Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani will be giving a press conference at some point today. He has an announcement to make based on what we have been told. We don't know exactly what that announcement will be. But as you can see, the podium is all set up. It says a new era, sort of marking his entrance into the mayor's office in New York City. As you heard Eric Adams say at the beginning of his press conference, his time as mayor is coming to an end. And he talks about how 4 years ago, right around this day, he was signed in as mayor. So this is what we are going to be waiting on here in terms of live events. That is the main one that we have on the schedule to monitor here on Live Impact News right now. So we are waiting on Zohran Mamdani to take the podium, and then we will go live to his announcement. Again, especially with the fact that New York City is sort of the capital of New Year's Eve celebrations that we have here in the United States. So in the meantime, we have a few other things to cover. And as we were winding down on Eric Adams' press conference, Sarah Calloway and I were sort of discussing where we wanted to go next. Now, I don't know that we totally and completely landed on an answer. Sarah, do we want to go to some of our sound from yesterday, or do we want to go over some of the news of the day that kind of is both national and local here when it comes to other things that are happening? What do you think? I feel like we were right in the middle of kind of deciding.
Yeah, we could talk about Denny Hamlin, the pipe bomb suspect in court.
Okay. Let's start with Denny Hamlin, because this is a story that is tragic for the Hamlin family, first and foremost, for the NASCAR community, and for race fans all over, but especially here in Virginia and North Carolina. Denny Hamlin, of course, one of the top drivers in NASCAR for some time now. 60 wins on the NASCAR circuit, a 3-time Daytona 500 champion, was very close to winning his first ever series championship earlier this year. And someone who is a mainstay here in Virginia racing and in North Carolina racing as well. His family moved to Richmond, Virginia when he was 2 years old. He grew up in the Commonwealth. He has, of course, spent time at Langley Speedway. He has run at Langley Speedway not long ago, 2018, I know. 13 News Now was at Langley Speedway covering Denny Hamlin running in that race. And so, again, a mainstay in NASCAR and here in Virginia and North Carolina racing. And tragic, devastating news to report from Denny Hamlin's family. His father, Dennis Hamlin, 75 years old, has passed away after a weekend fire heavily damaged the North Carolina home where Dennis Hamlin and his wife, Denny's mother, Mary Lou Hamlin, lived. Mary Lou Hamlin is still alive, but in critical condition at the hospital after suffering catastrophic injuries in that house fire. So, just a tragic day. There are really no words to properly summarize how difficult of news this is for so many, but first and foremost for Denny Hamlin, Mary Lou Hamlin, and their family. As again, Dennis Hamlin has passed away at the age of 75 after a fire at the North Carolina home where he lived with his wife, Mary Lou Hamlin, Denny Hamlin's parents. And Mary Lou Hamlin still suffering from catastrophic injuries. She is still fighting, still alive. She's being treated, as far as we know, at the Atrium Health Wake Forest Baptist Burn Center in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. That's according to ESPN reporting. The fire caused the structure to collapse at their house. The cause of that fire is still under investigation. Now, this is Stanley, North Carolina. It's about 20 miles northwest of Charlotte. The home is actually owned by a company called One Real Estate. That's WONONE Real Estate. And Denny Hamlin is listed as its manager according to local property tax records and a business document with the North Carolina Secretary of State's office. Representatives for Hamlin have not responded to requests for comment, and we have yet to see any comment from Denny Hamlin yet today on this tragic incident. Again, that happened over the weekend. We do have a statement here from NASCAR, which I will read to you now. This is from the NASCAR Communications Twitter page. NASCAR extends its deepest condolences to Denny Hamlin and the entire Hamlin family. Dennis Hamlin instilled a love of racing in his son and sacrificed greatly to develop Denny into a world-class talent in the sport. We also continue to offer our thoughts and prayers to Denny's mother, Mary Lou, and hope for her full recovery. Now, in that tweet, they mentioned the sacrifices that Dennis Hamlin made for his son Denny to be able to pursue his dream in the sport of racing. And we've read quite a bit over the last 24 hours while sort of learning this news about the sacrifices that Dennis Hamlin did make. And they took out multiple mortgages on a childhood home that they owned. Dennis Hamlin and his wife, Mary Lou Hamlin, both sold classic cars, some of their favorite classic cars that they owned, in order to pay for Denny to pursue his dream. As you can imagine, stock car racing, not something I have a lot of experience with, especially at the grassroots level, but doesn't seem like it would be a sport that is cheap to pursue. And so Denny's parents, Dennis and Mary Lou, sacrificed so much to make sure that Denny could chase his dream. And of course, that dream came to fruition, and likely then some, with him becoming one of the most successful drivers in this modern generation of NASCAR. And we also know that there has been quotes from Denny Hamlin about his father suffering from serious illness recently. While chasing the Cup Championship this year, he remarked about how this could be the last chance his father gets to see him chase a Cup Championship. So he was, Dennis Hamlin was dealing with a serious illness, according to some of the quotes that we've seen, but now passes away after this tragedy occurred at their home in North Carolina. Just a really difficult situation all around. And it's something when it comes to the NASCAR family, when it comes to the NASCAR community, so many sports that we follow, teams and leagues, become family and become community. It is a lot of people chasing the same goals and a lot of people who spend a lot of time with each other, a lot of people who can relate to each other as they're all working the same jobs and doing the same things. That's true in NASCAR, but in NASCAR it may even go a bit further, because if you are an NFL team, you fly into town, you play a team, and then you fly off to head to your next game, to your next town, back home to play another game against an entirely different team. In NASCAR, you're racing essentially against the same teams every single week in different cities. So it is this massive operation traveling together from city to city and then setting up camp in their new city. And if you've ever seen, I've been lucky enough to go to Langley Raceway when they had stock car events there. And the entire place is taken over by that particular tour. And so all of the people working on the cars, driving the cars, managing the cars, they're all in the same place for extended periods of time, on top of the fact that they're traveling place to place together. And so it's something where it's likely that they become close and that they become a community and that they all get to know each other very well. And Denny Hamlin is a remarkably prominent member of that community now. He has been in NASCAR for a long time. He has taken on leadership roles. He's been one of the best drivers. And so you can imagine how many lives he is a part of and how many lives he's touched within the NASCAR community, how major of a role he plays in the NASCAR community. And with that, how major of a role his dad plays is based on any sort of reporting or quotes that we've seen. It seems like they were extremely close. We even have tweets here that I'm seeing from October 12th where Denny Hamlin won his 60th career race and dedicated that to his father. As we said before, his father fighting an illness in recent times, an illness that sounds like it may have been very serious based, again, on some of the quotes that we've seen here. So,
yeah. And this isn't the first tragedy for NASCAR in the last 2 weeks. Yeah,
very, very recently. Great point, Sarah. Feel free to expand on that.
I was off when this happened, but Greg Biffle and his family passed away, and Denny Hamlin. It was in a plane crash, and Denny Hamlin even tweeted about it. When it happened, he said, "Today the motorsports world lost one of its fiercest competitors and kindest souls. Greg Biffle was a champion on the track and a humanitarian prophet whose impact reached far beyond racing. We also mourn the loss of his wife, Christina, and children, Emma and Ryder, along with Craig Wadsworth, Dennis Dutton, and his son, Jack. My heart is with all their families and loved ones."
And, Greg Biffle, also a legendary NASCAR driver, along with Denny Hamlin. And as you said, 2 weeks ago-ish, a tragic plane crash claiming the lives of him and many members of his family and others. And again, this takes us right back to family. We're talking about Denny Hamlin's father and mother in this tragedy. We're talking about Greg Biffle and members of his family in that tragedy. Just devastating circumstances in the sport of NASCAR, in the NASCAR community, and for the families, the Biffle family and the Hamlin family. Greg Biffle was flying a plane when that plane ultimately exploded, I guess, is the ultimate way to describe it, leading to those deaths. And then, of course, this fire now in North Carolina, claiming the life of Dennis Hamlin. So the world of NASCAR has been unquestionably rocked by back-to-back tragedies, or very close to, and two tragedies that have occurred during the holiday season. It's a season that we typically associate with a great amount of joy, but also that we very, very regularly associate, if we're lucky enough to do so, with family and spending time with family and going to maybe to see family that you don't see at any other point of the year. And so for all of this to happen ever is absolutely devastating. For it to happen during the holiday season, gives even more, adds even more difficult circumstance to these events. So thoughts and prayers with Mary Lou Hamlin, who is still fighting and is reportedly in critical condition and looking to recover from her injuries in that fire. Thoughts to Denny and the entire Hamlin family. Thoughts to the entire Biffle family and the families of the others who were killed in that plane accident. And then to the entire community of NASCAR. And again, as we just said, Denny Hamlin's family moved to Richmond, Virginia when he was 2 years old. You heard that his parents live in North Carolina, or lived in North Carolina. And so Denny Hamlin, a mainstay in this part of the country when it comes to racing, and then, of course, a national star when it comes to NASCAR as well. So any updates that do come along, we'll certainly relay to you. But for now, just the simple fact that it is a devastating stretch of time for the sport of NASCAR and the community of NASCAR and the Hamlin family right now, as we have got the news of his father passing away from that weekend fire at their home in North Carolina. You know, I don't know how much more sporting circumstances worthwhile to expand upon in this particular situation, but we also know that Denny Hamlin is co-owner of the 2311 racing team with Michael Jordan. Yes, that Michael Jordan. 23, Michael Jordan's number, 11, Denny Hamlin's number. They co-own a prominent NASCAR team together. Earlier this year, they were in the news because they brought an antitrust lawsuit against NASCAR in order to try and tackle some of what were allegedly described as monopolistic practices by the sport of NASCAR. That has since been settled before there was ever a trial, but that was major news in the NASCAR community as well. It speaks to the leadership role and the position of prominence that Denny Hamlin is in when it comes to that sport and his peers. And according to ESPN, in testimony this month at the start of the federal trial against NASCAR, Hamlin mentioned his dad in an emotional piece of that testimony. That's all the detail we really have on that, but just speaks more to the circumstance surrounding this situation. So a really, really tough month for the sport of NASCAR and the NASCAR community. We'll continue to keep you posted as we learn more. And again, here in Virginia and North Carolina especially, keep the Hamlin family in your thoughts. Keep the Biffle family in your thoughts. They were prominent athletes in this area, prominent members of these communities as well. Now, if we'll take a brief reset here, we are still waiting on our live event to kick off as we speak. Zohran Mamdani will be taking the podium at some point here soon, we would guess. In the meantime, maybe I would like to give some updates that we have from ABC News on some flu data here. It is flu season, and just in the last couple of weeks, we've started to really see some major numbers here in regards to the flu here in the United States. We got new data from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. The CDC estimates there have been at least 7.5 million illnesses, 81,000 hospitalizations, and 3,100 deaths from the flu so far this season. 5 more pediatric deaths reported this week, bringing that total to 8 this season. Public health experts have told ABC News that many of this season's cases are linked to a new flu strain called subclade K. It's a variant of H3N2 virus, which itself is a subtype of influenza A. I know that's a little bit in the weeds, but it does, it will be something that is talked about more and more as the flu kind of progresses through its season. Let's see what other information we can find in regards to Virginia. There is a very high activity designation for a number of states, including North Carolina. And then there is the high activity designation for a smaller group of states, which includes Virginia. So North Carolina in that very high respiratory illness activity category, Virginia in that high respiratory illness activity category. So it is flu season, and we are starting to see the impacts here in Virginia and throughout the United States here. And again, the flu variant this year a little different than last year. Let's see. New York health officials recently announced that the state saw the highest number of flu cases ever recorded in a single week. There's a recent report from New York. New York has been in our show quite a bit today, as we've heard from Eric Adams, and now are waiting to hear from Zohran Mamdani. In this particular case, not the news that you want to hear, with the highest number of flu cases ever recorded in a single week. I'm wondering if there's any other relevant pieces of information. It looks like we have some trends here from Sarah from the CDC. This is in relation to, okay.
They usually have a map that shows activity by state. I'm trying to find that right now.
Okay, cool. If we're able to find that map, we'll certainly pull it up. Again, we know from ABC News that Virginia in that second category of high respiratory illness activity, as opposed to the very high designation that exists for North Carolina right now. We'll see if we can find that map for you guys. But for now, we continue to search the CDC website. You know, obviously, a lot of you guys already know this. This is information that we talk about every single year during flu season, but we'll say it again, just in case. Washing hands, staying home if you're sick, and then covering up on those coughs and sneezes and getting rid of those tissues, disinfecting objects or surfaces that are frequently touched, all pieces of advice that public health experts give during flu season to try to keep those numbers down. And here we have that map that Sarah was talking about, and yeah, it tracks with exactly what we were saying from ABC News. You look at that dark red, sort of a lighter red for Virginia there, and then that dark red down in North Carolina to indicate that very high activity level. And then we talked about the record number of cases in New York with that purple color up there. That's the highest level that we can see. It looks like Louisiana and maybe South Carolina over there also are fitting in, Colorado as well, in that very high level of spread. Whereas maybe if you get into some of those rural areas, you actually still see some of those minimal greens. Even West Virginia still on that minimal slope. Michigan up there looks like it's in the very high area. So, you know.
And this is for the week, the week that ended on December 20th.
Okay, so this is actually from a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
Or maybe
this is the most
one-ish
recent
week ago. And you already see at that time how many dark red, purple, and red states there are. And it's something that we are now reporting is even increasing in spread. High and trending up for Virginia.
And this looks like more recent. This is for the week ending December 27th.
Okay,
this is for specifically Virginia.
Okay, so we have more updated data for Virginia here. And 9.8% of ED visits for influenza. There you see it right there on your screen, and that is trending up. RSV and COVID-19 both stable, influenza trending up as we are definitely in flu season. Be as careful as you can, and if you are sick, do the best you can to help everyone else out and avoid coming into contact with other people. We know that that's easier said than done as everyone is experiencing various symptoms with the cold and the change in temperatures. And everybody has so much to do, but important, especially as we look over these various numbers. Now, there is some good news there on the right. Virginia has reported 0 influenza-associated pediatric deaths during this respiratory season. So that is certainly something that you like to see there. No pediatric deaths during this season. Okay, so flu season, keep an eye out. Make sure you are doing everything you can to stay safe and constantly monitoring your own symptoms and your own health. Again, we know it's difficult anytime you feel a cold system to just stop your life, but continuing to recognize what those symptoms are of the popular variants this year and making sure that you're thinking over where you've been, what you've done, and if you may have come in contact and even contracted the flu as you go about your day. And we know with the holidays and gathering with so many people from different areas getting together, that oftentimes will lead to the proliferation of the flu. It can really kick flu season into high gear, and it's possible that we're seeing some of that now with some of these numbers. Okay, now let's go ahead and do some Hampton Roads Tower Cams checks here, Sarah. We are still waiting for Mayor-elect Mamdani to come up on our screen. For now, I say we go around, let's go around Hampton Roads and let's see what we've got going on here. If we look out in Hampton, it is a beautiful, absolutely gorgeous day. If you just ask someone to guess the temperature out there, maybe they could read the barren trees, the trees that are devoid of leaves, or they could notice the Christmas tree, but outside of those signifiers, it looks like a beautiful, nice day out in Hampton, but as soon as you get outside, you're reminded that it is late December, and that is not the case, that it is actually quite frigid. out there right now. If we continue to move around, we will also see this is Nauticus and Norfolk. This isn't too far from where we are now. And again, it's more of the same. I mean, yesterday we were looking at these images and it was quite warm out, but it was rainy and it was cloudy and overcast. Instead, here right now, we have a really beautiful day out in Nauticus. Would you mind taking that full, or we can take this image full as well, Sarah, while we try to sort of continue our tour of the Hampton Roads area. And again, like you see those cranes in the background. This is Sarah's. I like you're trying to follow me, and I took you for a left turn. That one's on me. That one's 100% on me, Sarah. But it's such a long, like what's the word I'm looking for? The range of vision, the depth of vision is way out there because it is so clear outside, and there's just no clouds to be found whatsoever. And we actually have an opportunity here now with our live looks to take a look at Trump International Golf Club in West Palm Beach. That's on Channel 3. We don't have word necessarily on if Trump will be arriving at any point in time, but surely the temperatures in Florida are likely much warmer than they are here. And since we are looking at the Trump International Golf Club, we will give let's give an update on some news out of the White House this week. This is reporting from yesterday on abcnews.com. Trump says the United States hit a dock in Venezuela, marking the first known land attack that we have been able to discuss during this time when there have been vessels hit in the Caribbean by the United States, but hitting a dock in Venezuela where drugs were allegedly being loaded onto boats would be the first land attack. President Donald Trump said on Monday that the United States hit that dock in Venezuela. Those comments come after Trump said in a radio interview last Friday that the U.S. knocked out a, quote, big facility in Venezuela, touting his admin's effort to stop drug trafficking from the region, including those strikes against alleged drug boats that we talked about, those small vessels in the Caribbean. So those are comments from President Donald Trump. We don't see much other reporting around that land strike. That, again, was revealed by President Trump in remarks yesterday. And again, it would mark the first known attack on land in Venezuela since the Trump administration began its campaign against the country, something that he has talked about quite a bit. And now yesterday, of course, we know Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu welcomed to the Mar-a-Lago Club in Florida. We heard some live comments from him yesterday outside of Mar-a-Lago. They also took to the podium later on in the day, giving dual comments at the Mar-a-Lago Resort. And I wonder if maybe we take that recording now while we wait for some of our live events to pop up. Again, this was not, we ran some live sound from President Donald Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu yesterday. That was before they met at Mar-a-Lago. This is sound from after their meeting at Mar-a-Lago. We'll see if they go over some of what was discussed in that particular meeting. So let's go to that previously recorded press conference right now from yesterday, late afternoon yesterday, after we had already gone off air.
But I want to say something else. I think we have a partnership, if I can quote you, second to none. I think it's allowed us to do enormous things. You know, people said there was a different conception at one time, which means that America can advance its interest in the Middle East if it opens a lot of daylight between it and Israel. And President Trump has done the exact opposite. He's achieved remarkable things in the Middle East because we work together. We talk about our ideas. Sometimes we have different ideas, but we work it out. And most of the time we see eye to eye. But it's been a remarkable experience, and this was a very, very productive meeting. And may I say, a very good lunch. Thank you. Thank you for your friendship.
Thank you very much, baby.
And thank you for your support. It's meant from the heart.
Thank you. You know, as I said outside, he's been a wartime prime minister, and we were, well, I guess I could say I was a wartime president in more places than just Israel, if you think about it. But Israel was a big factor, and we're with you, and we'll continue to be with you, and a lot of good things are happening in the Middle East. We have peace in the Middle East, and we're going to try and keep it that way. I think we will be very successful in keeping it that way. And you've been a great friend, and I've been a great friend to you and to Israel. And it's been my honor. And the award that I was given was really surprising and very much appreciated.
Well, President Trump has broken so many conventions to the surprise of people, and then they figure out, oh, well, maybe, he was right after all. So we decided to break a convention too, or create a new one, and that is to award the Israel Prize, which in almost our 80 years, we've never awarded it to a non-Israeli, and we're going to award it this year to President Trump. This was announced formally over lunch by our Minister of Education, who's responsible for the Israel Prize. It's going to be awarded to President Donald J. Trump for his tremendous contributions to Israel and the Jewish people. I think it's such a fitting thing, and it would honor us, obviously, Mr. President, if you could visit Israel in that occasion on our Independence Day. But I have to say that this reflects the overwhelming sentiment of Israelis across the spectrum. They appreciate what you've done to help Israel and to help our common battle against the terrorists and those who would destroy our civilization. So, again, that's an expression of thanks and appreciation.
Thank you, baby, very much. That really is a great honor. Any questions, please? We'll go pretty quickly because pretty much we agree on most of the things, and you would know what most of those things are. Please, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to know if you and the Prime Minister talked about having Israel pull back its troops before Hamas fully disarms. I know that's been an issue. Did you push for that today?
Well, we talked about Hamas and we talked about disarmament, and they're going to be given a very short period of time to disarm, and we'll see how that works out. Steve Woodcock.
All right, well, we're sorry to cut that off so soon after going to it, but as we've been waiting, Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani has taken the podium finally, so let's go live out to New York City.
But those also tasked today at Elmhurst Hospital, which serves over 1 million patients annually, and so often feels the pain of poverty and ill health more acutely than anywhere else in our city. If anyone should hold the public's trust in the work of transforming a healthcare system full of disparities and fighting for New Yorkers who most need the services our city can provide, it is the leader who has guided this institution through moments of adversity and success. I am proud to announce that Helen Arteaga will serve as my Deputy Mayor of Health and Human Services. Helen has served as CEO of New York City Health and Hospitals Elmhurst since February of 2021, the same hospital that saved her and so many other New Yorkers' lives during COVID. Her tenure has been transformative, with the hospital delivering consistent improvements in care to its patients and making historic strides to support its frontline healthcare workers. It's the kind of leadership that Elmhurst residents came to expect from a daughter of the community, someone who grew up like them, cared about people like them, and understood that New Yorkers with less are often treated with less. That leadership, driven by empathy and guided by an unshakable belief that every New Yorker deserves a life of dignity, is no less than what the people of this city will expect from their new deputy mayor. As Deputy Mayor for Health and Human Services, Helen will have incredible power to make our city healthier and more prosperous. This is work which will demand all of government coming together, which is why I'm thrilled to also announce my corporation counsel today, Steve Banks, a name that many of you will be familiar with. Steve's legacy of service is second to none. As the former Attorney-in-Chief of Legal Aid, Steve helped some of the most vulnerable New Yorkers get back on their feet. And as the Commissioner of the Department of Social Services for 7 years under Mayor de Blasio, Steve overhauled our shelter system, helped over 175,000 New Yorkers find permanent housing, and fought for low-income tenants. There is a reason that after leaving office, he was described as the most effective social services director in New York City history. His reputation as a champion of those otherwise forgotten is recognized across the city. I am grateful to him for returning to public service. As New York's Corporations Counsel, he will be our city's lawyer, managing hundreds of attorneys and representing our city in court. It is an incredibly important role with wide-reaching and far-reaching implications, and there's no one I would rather turn to than Steve. Today is the day of announcements, and we are speaking of counsel. I am delighted to announce that I am naming Ramzi Kassem as Chief Counsel. Ramzi will be joining the administration from CUNY, where he serves as a professor of law.
Okay, so that announcement seems to consist mostly of Mayor-elect Mamdani naming members of his cabinet, naming members of his administration that will carry out his duties along with him as he is sworn in as mayor not too long from right now. But what we're going to do right now is actually transition over to a press conference being held about the victims of the Bourbon Street attack in New Orleans. That is live at this very moment. Let's go live out there right now. We believe it's in New Orleans, but it's certainly about the victims of the Bourbon Street attack. Let's listen in.
Surgeries is still under treatment. My message today is very simple. Number one, I want to commend the city for the steps it has taken this year, this New Year's, this Sugar Bowl, to protect everyone as they enjoy the festivities, as they go on Bourbon Street. There's going to be a huge police presence. They're going to close off Bourbon Street. These changes are necessary in light of the tragedy that occurred last year. But my second point, and perhaps even more importantly, is I call on the city to do the right thing. Do the right thing by permanently closing off Bourbon Street to traffic so that an incident like this never happens again. It's great to close it off over New Year's and over Sugar Bowl, but as all of us who live here in New Orleans know, you can go to the French Quarter any ordinary Friday or Saturday night, and Bourbon Street is packed with people out enjoying themselves and having a good time. This is an ongoing situation that presents huge risk every single weekend throughout the year. And quite frankly, we want the tourists to come and enjoy themselves. It's an easy fix. Nashville has dealt with it. Memphis has dealt with it on Beale Street. You close it off by putting in permanent heavy-duty bollards, not the decorative bollards that Mott MacDonald has proposed putting on Bourbon Street that, quite frankly, our litigation research shows that these bollards will only stop a vehicle going 5 miles an hour. That's laughable. We don't need decorative bollards on Bourbon Street. We need permanent heavy-duty bollards. And yes, I know there's hotels, and yes, I know there's restaurants and bars on Bourbon Street, but just like Nashville, just like Memphis, you can have a delivery window of a few hours, perhaps early in the morning, where supplies are delivered. I don't want to climb down in the weeds on this, but these are problems that can easily be worked out. The main thing for the safety of everyone involved and in the memory of the horrific situation that occurred when 14 people were tragically killed New Year's of last year, we need to learn by example. We need to learn as to what happened. It's kind of ridiculous when you think about it that a year later, a year after this tragedy, nothing has been done to resolve this situation. There's been committees, there's been reports. We have so many chefs in the kitchen, we can't even make the dish we want to make. Everybody has a voice, everybody speaks with a different voice. I'm very hopeful that the administration and I call on the incoming mayor, Helena Moreno, do the right thing. Close Bourbon Street down to traffic, especially on Friday and Saturday night, or any time there's crowds of people on the street. Close it down. Need permanent, heavy-duty bollards. We can't rely on the police department every time to have to go there and use their manpower to put bollards in, to take bollards out. It doesn't work. That's obvious. We should know that. The city needs to do the right thing. Now, if anyone has any litigation-related questions, Matthew Hemmer is taking the lead. Actually, our firm has taken the lead on all this litigation since we represent most of the people. We represent 6 of the 14 who were killed and dozens of those that are injured. We're leading the litigation. The litigation's going good. I'll let Matthew address that if anyone has any questions. And then we also have Melissa and we have Lenny here available to take questions. But I would prefer for their privacy that we do this on a one-on-one basis. So I have a very nice conference room right next to us. And if there's any questions for us as a group, we can take that. Or if any of you would like to do one-on-one interviews with them, we'll make them available in a much more comfortable surrounding for them in our boardroom. So thank you for coming out. I'd like to wish all of your viewers, a happy and safe New Year's. Thank you.
Morris, before we get to that, have you spoken to Helena Moreno about what you think should happen?
So Helena Moreno placed me on the Public Safety Committee of her transition team. So I have had a voice in that regard, and quite frankly, I was very impressed with the people, from Chief Michael Harrison. There was some of us from the DA's office. I say some of us because, as you might know, I'm a volunteer assistant DA in Jason Williams' office, and I'm still working closely there and closely with the 8th District in the NOPD. That was discussed. That was brought up. Of course, is the limiting factor about the funds available to accomplish what we need to accomplish. The budget is a big problem. Mayor-elect Moreno has said that she's not going to cut the budget for public safety. So assuming that's the case, we should be able to accomplish these things. I am a strong advocate and have been, and quite frankly, I think anybody that lives in New Orleans knows the solution is so simple. You close Bourbon Street to traffic. It's as easy as that. I will advocate for that. If the mayor-elect gives me a future role on the Public Safety Committee or anything to deal with this plan on Bourbon Street, I'm happy to participate.
Regarding the litigation, can you just kind of walk us through where it's at now and the next steps for the families?
You're talking about on the litigation?
Yes.
Sure. I'm going to turn it over to Matthew then.
Fantastic.
And Matt, could you spell your first and last name for me?
Yes, ma'am. It is Matthew. Last name Hemmer, Hemmer.
And where does the litigation stand currently, and walk us through what's the most new information?
So right now we're in discovery, and we're only now just entering discovery. It may not surprise you to believe that some people don't like to take responsibility or accountability for things. So while we've been in the courthouse for 11 months, we've really been mired in motions. I was disappointed that some of the defendants chose to try and file motions asking for the court to throw it out rather than start digging into it. But I was pleased to see that Judge Barrial and the court took the time to hear everything and rightfully denied those motions, opening the doors for us to really start digging into some of these issues. We have since sent all of our written questions and requests for documents to the defendants, and we're just waiting on production to those requests. There's no reason why we can't start taking depositions in March. I would ask for all the defendants to do what they can to clear their calendars so that in March we can start sitting down with people and asking questions, asking the hard questions to find out
how this happened, who made these choices, who was the one who said, leave it wide open, leave the door open. To me, these are things that you shouldn't have to wait 15 months to start sitting down and asking people.
Who are the major defendants?
Mott MacDonald. Mott MacDonald is the defendant we believe to have the most responsibility for this. There's also a contractor, Hard Rock Construction, and because this is a public street and because the city does have responsibility to some degree for all public streets, they are also named as a defendant. But as we dig more and more into this, what we really see is that the city may have found itself in the position of hiring someone that just didn't do a good job. And I think everybody can relate to the situation of having a problem, having a sink break, having a light go out, and going out and trying to hire someone to do a good job and fix it. You don't always have control over whether or not that person does a good job. And I think there's a chance here that the city went out and hired who they thought was the best in Mott MacDonald, and unfortunately found themselves the victim of someone who didn't do a very good job.
If you can share, is there anything that you guys have found up to this point that is shocking, or you think the public would kind of like, oh my gosh?
You know, the defendants said that this was unpredictable, that no one said this could have happened. Shortly after seeing that written in a paper they filed, I received a copy of a presentation that Mott MacDonald made to our city in April of last year, months before this happened. And I'll tell you, they must have a crystal ball, because months before this happened, Mott MacDonald told the city, here's a picture of a white F-150 driving down Canal Street and turning right onto Bourbon. Think about how terrible that would be. That's the problem, and that's what could happen. But we'll fix it. Okay? We'll prevent that from happening. We'll be responsible. When I saw that eerie prediction months before this could have happened, it really drove home that this was a predictable, preventable, and unnecessary tragedy.
I can add something shocking that I found, and that is to put in perspective, the bollards that were in place prior to January 1st were heavy-duty bollards that could withstand a vehicle collision at 40 miles an hour. The problem was that those bollards were on tracks. Debris got in the tracks, and so the bollards couldn't open and close like intended. Mott MacDonald said, let's replace those with a different type of bollards. They took out the bollards, the heavy-duty bollards, and of course, while the bollards were out is when January 1st occurred. However, the bollards they were going to replace them with, and they did replace it with, came from a company, believe it or not, called 1-800-Bollards. And these bollards are what's called decorative bollards, like you might see them in front of a storefront. They only withstand a collision of about 5 miles an hour, meant to prevent a car that might be inching forward in front of a store and goes too far and just hits the bollard, it slows it down. They're not meant to prevent a vehicle charging down Bourbon Street. After January 1st, it was quickly realized those bollards were inadequate, and they were removed. And to this day, there are no bollards on Bourbon Street. They have not put permanent heavy-duty bollards on Bourbon Street. Yes, they have put in other devices. What are the
Archer.
The Archer devices, very effective devices. They have the Archer devices in the streets, on the sidewalks. So steps have been taken to make Bourbon Street safe for the next few days. But once the hundreds of extra police officers leave, what's going to happen? And that's what I keep advocating for the city to do the right thing, get the heavy-duty bollards, put them on Bourbon Street.
Matthew, you said that the defendants have moved to get the case dismissed. Have any of the defendants, issued any actual response through the course of the litigation?
You mean in terms of after those motions? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the court took a look at those, denied those motions. They said this case is going forward. You can't just ask for it to be thrown out and have it disappear. After that, we had answers, but even though it's called an answer, it doesn't really answer anything. It's essentially a little more than a document saying, I'm ready to participate in the litigation. So we have a document titled an answer, but there's no substantive response to anything. There's no answers to be found in there.
I know you can only speak for your litigation, but there are other lawsuits. Have there been any responses from any of the defendants in other cases that you think might have some bearing on, what happens in this?
Well, at this point, there is only all the lawsuits have been consolidated into our case. So anybody who has or will file their own case, we would expect them all to be consolidated into our case to handle it together as a single case.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, if there's no further questions, why don't we take a quick break? And Melissa and Lenny, we can set you up in the boardroom, and then whoever would like to do a Q&A with them, a one-on-one, we can go ahead and do that. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Got it.
Did you have some?
I was just letting him.
Okay.
I certainly would like to, and it wouldn't take long.
Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, so as you heard, they're taking a brief recess there in that press conference about the attack on Bourbon Street. Now, based on some of their press conference, you may have been reminded that it was about a year ago, the early hours of January 1st, 2025, to be specific, that there was that attack on Bourbon Street, a car plowing into people celebrating New Year's Day. That, again, a year ago, during New Year's celebrations on Bourbon Street in New Orleans, a car plowing into people celebrating the holiday and killing many in that incident. 14 people killed specifically in that incident on Bourbon Street. So them talking about that incident, talking about preparations to make sure something like that doesn't happen again, talking about what has occurred in the year since that incident. And obviously a difficult day in New Orleans, even just remembering that tragedy, and 14 people lost their lives on that particular day. So obviously a city that is now in the headlines 1 year later, and hopefully everybody is safe and secure on this particular New Year's Eve. And as those gentlemen said, there is learning to be done from those incidents and how to protect people going forward from potential attacks like that one. Okay, now we do still have Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani speaking live in New York City. Well, last time we listened in, he was just making announcements about who will fill out his administration in the city. Looks like he may be doing question and answer now, as far as we can tell. So let's listen back in to New York City, and then we'll meet back here in the studio and finish out the show. For now, back to Mayor-elect Mamdani, who does appear to be taking a question as we speak.
Back against Trump administration initiatives. Is that pledge still holding? Are you going to hire those 200 attorneys? Are we going to see that in the prelim budget? And if Steve could speak a little bit to how attorneys would be deployed specifically to fight the Trump.
That pledge is still continuing, of hiring 200 additional lawyers, and it's also a pledge of thinking about what the legacy of the law department has been for decades. The law department had been on the front lines of many of the fights for equal rights across this country, but today it has been hollowed out. And this is incredibly important for us in the work that we are seeking to do in this administration, that we have a corporations council and a law department that is not only staffed, but is also back on the front lines as opposed to the defensive that we have seen over the last few years.
Yeah, Mayor-elect, do you support a
No worries.
controversial the city, but do you support a ban on horse carriages here in New York City? Would
Yep.
you support a ban?
I've said that I support removing horse carriages from Central Park, and I've also said that I look forward to working with union partners and community leaders to actually deliver on that.
All right. I think we have time for just one quick one.
Hey,
How's it going, Dave?
good. Just following up on Morgan, I know you said wait to see, but buses were so central to your campaign.
Yes.
They've been so central. The transit has been so central to a lot of what you talked about in office. So what are we looking for in terms of DOT leadership on January 1st? Is there going to be an interim commissioner, or are we going to have a new person who I get to bother with?
No matter who's there, I know that you'll be bothering them. And I appreciate it because, frankly, what this is about looking for a fealty to a commitment to New Yorkers that are often overlooked. Right? Today we have spoken about it in the context of health, but when we speak about bus riders, we're speaking about more than 1 million New Yorkers who are riding the slowest buses in the country. This will continue to be a focus of my administration and a recognition that it is New York City government that runs the streets of this city, and therefore there is an opportunity in the way in which we approach that, not only to honor the commitments and proposals that have been put forward in prior years, which Streets Blog also broke the news of at a press conference not too long ago, but also, frankly, to think about how do we make this city an example for the world in the ways to get around efficiently and reliably.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, okay. I'm sorry, everyone, but we'll see you soon. I do promise.
Okay, so that concludes the press conference from New York City Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani, which leaves us just enough time to get back to our pre-recorded press conference from President Donald Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu after Netanyahu's visit to Mar-a-Lago in Florida yesterday to meet with President Trump. Let's go out to that pre-recording right now.
I know him very well. He will do the right thing. Yes.
There is a growing fear of a confrontation between Israel and Turkey. How are you going to ease this tension given the fact that President Erdogan calls Mr. Netanyahu Hitler and compares Israel to the Nazis?
Well, I know President Erdogan very well, and as you all know, he's a very good friend of mine. And I believe that, and I do respect him, and Bibi respects him, and they're not going to have a problem. They're not going to have a problem. I know him very well. And you've seen me do things with President Erdogan and Turkey that nobody else could have done. We're not going to have a problem. He's done a fantastic job. I'm with him all the way. I'm with Bibi all the way. Nothing's going to happen. Yes.
Mr. President, are you concerned that Israel is not moving quickly enough to phase 2 of the peace plan?
Well, I'm not concerned about anything that Israel's doing. I'm concerned about what other people are doing or maybe aren't doing. But I'm not concerned. They've lived up to the plan. They're strong. They're solid. And sometimes they don't understand when somebody violates something that you want to give them a second chance. Well, we'll give them a couple of second chances. But no, Israel's lived up to the plan 100%. Don't forget, we made the plan possible by taking out Iran. And speaking of Iran, I hope they're not trying to build up again, because if they are, we're going to have no choice but very quickly to eradicate that buildup. So I hope Iran is not trying to build up, as I've been reading that they're building up weapons and other things. And if they are, they're not using the sites that we obliterated, but they're using possibly different sites. We know exactly where they're going, what they're doing, and I hope they're not doing it because we don't want to waste the fuel on a B-2. It's a 37-hour trip both ways. I don't want to waste a lot of fuel. Okay?
Mr. President Trump, just what are your last remarks regarding the pardon request of Prime Minister Netanyahu? Herzog office told us that you have not talked after the official request of Prime Minister Netanyahu pardon. Can you clarify to us? Did you talk
Which
about
request
it?
are you talking about?
With the President Herzog, the Israeli President Herzog. Did you talk with him directly?
President Erdogan?
Herzog. The Israeli
So
President
you're talking
Herzog.
about pardon?
Yeah.
Oh, well, you got to say that. No, I think he's going to be in great shape. He's a wartime prime minister at the highest level. He's achieved tremendous success. And I'll say it, if you had 8 out of 10 prime ministers in his position right now, or before right now, maybe, you wouldn't have Israel any longer. Israel would not exist. I'd say two of them would, and 8 of them wouldn't. Those are not good odds. You needed a very special man to really carry through and really help Israel through this horrible jam. These are major factions, and it started with our negotiation with Iran. I think it probably started with Soleimani. That was really where you mentioned that today, which started with Soleimani. Bad guy, doing bad things, hurting a lot of people, killing American soldiers and other soldiers. But it started right there would probably be the starting point. And then from that point forward, but you have a wartime prime minister at the highest level. There could be other wartime prime ministers, but they'd lose. He won. And I think the people of Israel appreciate it. I think a lot of the people in the world appreciate it, actually. And because of that victory, we were able to get peace in the Middle East. If you had a different kind of a personality, if you had a weak person or a stupid person, and there are plenty of both of them, you would not have had success, and you might not have Israel. And you report for Israel. I know you're very proud of it, and you do a great job. You might not have a job because there might not be an Israel right now if you had a different prime minister. That's a big statement, but to me it's a very simple statement to make. I'm looking at Pete Hegseth, and he's sort of nodding. If they don't have a strong prime minister, Pete, you might not have Israel today. I think he'll go down in the record books. And, I was a big help. I'll be honest with you, big help. Somebody said in the room, if you don't have Trump, you needed a proper combination of everything. And if you didn't have that combination, which they had, you would not have an existing Israel right now. And the people of Israel know it. That's why they like me, and it's why they actually like him. He's got a little bit of a love-hate more than I do over there. But you know what? Even the haters have a lot of respect for him. There's a lot of jealousy about him. A lot of jealousy. Jealousy is a bad word. But I believe you would not have Israel right now, so it's a big deal. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, a recent poll showed that as many as half of Gazans would be willing to leave the Gaza Strip if afforded the opportunity to do so. Back in February, you said that all Gazans should be.
I heard that number today. Half of Gaza would leave. I've always said it. I said if they were given the opportunity to live in a better climate, they would move. They're there because they sort of have to be. I think it would be a great opportunity, but let's see if that opportunity presents itself. But we're helping the people of Gaza a lot. So is Israel, by the way. So we'll see what happens. But I saw that it was a poll. It was actually more than half the people would leave if they were given the opportunity. And I've been saying that for a long time. To me, it was common sense. So it's interesting.
Why wouldn't countries accept them?
Look, let's not talk about it because we don't want the controversy. Right now we're helping Gaza. But if they were given the opportunity, I think even higher than that, the group that did the poll is usually, I call them negative pollsters. You have a lot of them. And yet this poll was, I think, very accurate, other than it would be more than half the people if given the opportunity. But they haven't been given that opportunity. So we'll see what happens.
Mr. President, have you reached a point of understanding regarding Syria?
We do have an understanding regarding Syria. Now, with Syria, your new president, I respect him. He's a very strong guy, and that's what you need in Syria. You can't put a choir boy. You can't put somebody that's a perfect person. Everything's nice, no problems in life. You have the opposite there. He's a strong guy. We get along with him great. I can't ask for any more. He's been with us all the way. We had that mishap with ISIS, and he was with us all the way. He was fighting us. He was fighting them. So I hope Israel. I'm sure that Israel and him will get along. I will try and make it so that they do get along.
Mr. President,
I think they will. Bibi, do you have anything to say about that?
Yeah, well, our interest is to have a peaceful border with Syria. Our interest is to have, and we openly say it, we want to make sure that the border area right next to our border is safe. We don't have terrorists, we don't have attacks, and we also want to secure our Druze friends. And by the way, I think not only the Druze, but other minorities, especially the Christians, should be protected as well in Syria and throughout the Middle East and in Nigeria. In your efforts, we back completely, because Christian communities are beleaguered around the world, and especially in the Middle East, but in parts of Africa too. And we stand for the same thing.
And don't forget, it was President Erdogan that helped very much get rid of a very bad ruler of Syria. That was President Erdogan. And he never wanted the credit for it, but he really gets a lot of credit. Bibi.
All right, so we didn't get to hear the entirety of that press conference from President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu, but we got through a good chunk of it after a day that was busy for the first half hour and then really seemed